The Radiologist's Equilibrium. Arthur, a dedicated radiologist who had been a teacher since 2005, sat back in his velvet armchair. He wasn't exactly bored, but the latest news scrolling across his tablet was undeniably boring. Since he had to don his professional hat at the hospital headquarters early the next day, he decided to rest. His years of experience would always stand him in good stead when facing the chaos of the clinic. The next morning at the HQ, Arthur entered the high-tech radiology suite. He worked as a radiographer for the early shift, his eyes fixed on the diagnostic imagery. His work was always meticulous, scanning an array of scans for any dissonance in a patient's equilibrium. He used a digital probe to highlight a tiny suspicious shadow on the large monitors. His intern, Julian, arrived late. Julian sported a textured fringe and a sharp fade, a style the other students called an Edgar cut. Julian tended to fuck around with the security feed instead of focusing on his efficiency. "Don't fuck with the settings, Julian," Arthur said, keeping his temper in check as he handed the young man a vial of contrast agent. Suddenly, a computer malfunction threatened the entire network. The system began to purge active patient files automatically. Arthur had to override the sequence to lead his team through the technical battle. He felt a surge of defiance against the failing machine. "You must heed the warning lights," he shouted, his head throbbing from the sudden stress of the crisis. The situation became dire before his very eyes. A small glass file rolled toward the edge of the metal desk. Arthur caught it just in time. Feeling the cold glass against his forearm, he grabbed a bottle of saline to mix one of his specialized concoctions. "This computer system is acting like a psychopath," he grumbled, trying desperately to restore the server. After the crisis was averted, Arthur found a small break room that served as his haven and sanctuary. It felt like a piece of heaven compared to the chaotic radiology ward. He decided to take a quick power nap. He didn't want to doze off for an hour, so he set a timer for a 10-minute snooze. His effectiveness for the rest of the day depended on this moment of being safe and sound. When his shift finally ended, the wind blew cold leaves across the hospital parking lot. Arthur drove home to his cottage, which sat in the shadow of the village steeple. He changed into his denim dungarees to rake the leaves before the sunlight began to fade. He gathered a large pile near the garden store, carrying a heavy metal lamp to guide his way. His neighbor, Desmond, whom the locals called the Duke because of his charm, arrived on a sturdy horse he called his steed. Desmond had a long, flowing broflow hairstyle that waved in the breeze. He was out to look for a lost lamb that had wandered off the nearby farm. "I can't find her anywhere in the dark," Desmond called out. Arthur followed the Duke at a quick pace through the tall grass. They eventually found the animal caught in a tangle of thorns near a stack of old firewood. "I knew there was a skeleton in the closet of this forest," Arthur joked, feeling humble in the presence of the frightened creature. He conquered his own fatigue to help free the shivering lamb from the brush. Finally, the lamb was returned to its mother. Arthur sat on his porch under a wooden canopy. A neighbor's son, Leo, arrived at the gate carrying a warm box. "The child/pizza delivery service is here," the boy laughed, handing over the food. Lines of age were etched on Arthur's face, but within the confines of a room filled with his favorite books, he felt a perfect sense of peace.